hard to capture. Extravagant, resurrect the track and it's militant. And I react like a convict and start killing. It's manifesting. The gods work like appliances, dealing in my psyche.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another discussion for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, the manga. And for anime only fans, this is the time of the month where a lot of the content on the channel is going to be spoiler heavy, so I thank you for your support. However, with all that being said though, if you're still here, then I'm assuming that you're okay with me talking about spoilers and that you're caught up with the Boruto manga. So I want to talk to you guys about Naruto's potential final lesson to Boruto. And I think that when you start looking at Naruto and Boruto's story, I think that it's very important that we look at this moment right here. So you have Naruto using a brand new power that is going to take his life in the end. And when you really look at Naruto and Boruto up until this point, their stories, while Boruto has said that this is his story, he's also said that the story of the guy who wanted to be Hokage, that story's come to an end, but that guy did play a part in the early portion of my story. And so when you look at Boruto and Naruto, there is a little bit of symbolism there. In fact, there's almost a parallel track for them. So what I mean by this is Boruto has a monster power inside of him. He has Momoshiki's power inside of him. He's rapidly progressing. He's hit 80% of regaining Momoshiki's power and allowing Momoshiki to take over his body as a complete Otsutsuki vessel. And in the end, when that happens, Boruto will cease to exist. Boruto will die. Now on the other side, you have Naruto, somebody who also has an external force inside of him that is related to chakra, this being the Nine Tails, as well as all the other Biju that are inside of Naruto. But for the most part, he's only drawing on the Kyuubi's power. For the first time in Naruto's life, Naruto has access to both halves of the Kyuubi, and he's drawing out the full power of both halves of the Kyuubi. During the war, Naruto never used both parts of the Kyuubi. He had both halves of the Kyuubi at different points. He had one half to start the war that was extracted, and then he got the other half that replaced the part of him that was extracted. And then after the war, Naruto got both halves of the Kyuubi, but Naruto's never been in that situation where he's pulled out 100% of the Kyuubi's power yet. And so the reason why I find this so fascinating right here is, just as Boruto has a power to where if it reaches 100%, Boruto ceases to exist, Naruto is now in a position to where Naruto, if he uses 100% of the Kyuubi's power and uses this new form, what a lot of people are dubbing KCM Stage 3 or Version 3, Naruto is going to cease to exist. And the reason why I find this so fascinating is Naruto is indirectly teaching Boruto two lessons right here. So the first lesson he's teaching Boruto is that it does not matter that you have an Otsutsuki inside of you. I had a Biju inside of me. People hated me for a moment. I was afraid of the power myself. I tried to run away from the power by learning Sage Mode and trying to move away from that Kyuubi's influence. But over time, I realized that I needed that power in order to protect the people that I love, in order to protect the people that I care for. It does not matter. It does not matter that you have that in you. That does not define you. And it is perfectly okay to draw on this power if it means that you're protecting somebody or something precious to you. And that kind of ties back into what Mike Guy was teaching Rock Lee, which was saying, like, if you're going to start using this inner gates power, you're going to have to use it in situations to where you're protecting somebody or something precious to you. And that falls in line with everything we've seen in the Naruto series, whether it be the third Hokage making a similar line, and now you could potentially have Naruto teaching that lesson to his son. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's actually clever writing, because this is a different type of power here. Just as Boruto is afraid of Momoshiki taking over his body, he's afraid of Momoshiki's power that's inside of him, Naruto went through that same thing. But Naruto was able to stand in front of his son and say, I had those fears. I conquered those fears. And that same power that I was afraid of at one point, that same power that I was afraid would consume me, just as my father stepped in and put me back on the right track, I'm gonna do the exact same thing for you. And it's through sacrifice that Naruto is gonna be able to keep his son and put his son on the right track, even when Boruto begins to start losing some type of hope and some type of faith. Because Boruto got to a point where he said, I'll kill myself to protect everybody. Naruto's teaching Boruto right now, use this extra power that's inside of you, protect the people that you care for, and find a way to live. Find a way to live and endure. Find a way to overcome your situation. And this brings me to the second thing that Naruto is teaching Boruto here, the second lesson. So I'm actually gonna borrow a line from Avengers Endgame, okay? So obviously, if you've not seen Endgame, this is gonna be a bit of a spoiler here, but you have that line that's in the trailer where Tony Stark says, part of the journey is the end. And as I look at Naruto, this is the first thing that kind of went into my mind as soon as Kurama said that this can kill you, which is the fact that Naruto's journey, Boruto said at the very beginning of the manga, that Naruto's story had come to an end. Now we know at some point that, you know, presumably Kawaki's going to steal Naruto away, but that does not necessarily mean that that's 100% Kawaki. That could be Isshiki in control of Kawaki. We don't know the full context of circumstances and situation. It could be Isshiki speaking through Kawaki. I've kind of went from being against that type of state of mind to actually thinking that that might be a possibility. But here's the thing. Here's why I bring that up. So when you look at the symbolism in Avengers Endgame, okay, so yes, you have it where Tony Stark said part of the journey's the end. Tony Stark ended up dying. Okay, so Naruto, part of Naruto's journey is the end. Naruto might die. But see, this is where the beauty is. Just as with Tony Stark, where Tony Stark had a legacy that was carried on to the next generation, and you saw it where Peter Parker was saying, I can't live up to this. You're gonna see a similar type of situation with Boruto, to where Naruto's legacy is gonna be carried on to the next generation, and Boruto is the one that's going to inherit that. Now, Sarada is going to be one who walks that path of Hokage, but Boruto, by being Naruto's son, there's going to be huge expectations placed on him, which brings me to the second part of this whole point right here. So here's the thing. When you say part of the journey's the end, the other thing you have to look at when it comes to Japanese mythology and just Asian mythology in general, the end isn't always the end. Sometimes the end is the brand new beginning. And when you start looking at the different mythology and everything, and you start looking at Naruto being the only Jinchuriki that has a bright colored chakra mode, which I'm gonna make a whole video on, but you know, there's some symbolism in that, because Naruto was really the only Jinchuriki that fully conquered that Jinchuriki curse. Killer Bee came very close, but there's a difference between how Naruto and Killer Bee did it. And so the reason why I say that is this next life that Naruto's giving is actually Boruto. Yes, Boruto's technically alive, but what he's doing for Boruto is he's laying out a new path forward for his son to take. And I think that those are going to be the key takeaways from the fallout of this Naruto battle, if this does come in a situation like Kurama said, that it's going to cost Naruto his life. However, I want to know from you guys, I really want to know from you guys, how do you guys feel about this? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.